Now we will study transformation in coordinate planes with the focus being reflections. We're going to look at what reflections are, how to reflect in a coordinate plane, and reflection on a point in a point. So when we look at reflections, we want to see reflections as flipping the object or point in the coordinate plane. We look at the original object as the pre-image and the reflected as the image, and we use a apostrophe to indicate the point that is the reflected point. And an important thing to note here is that the object and its reflection must maintain the same shape and size. Now let's look at reflecting over the y-axis. The y-axis is also known as your vertical axis. When we reflect around the y-axis, all that happens is that the point moves the same number of spots from the y-axis. So you can see this point right here, it's reflecting over the y-axis, so that means it's sliding around the y-axis from left to right. And so what that means for us is this point is 2 units from the y-axis. So now we're going to also go in the opposite direction and count 2 units. This is 1 unit, this is 2 units. So it's going to be in this position here. So what you notice here is that the only thing that changes is the value of the x value of the point, because it shifts from the negative side of the x to the positive side of the x and vice versa. So you can see here from the formula that when you are trying to reflect over the y-axis, the only thing that changes is the x value of the point. It becomes the negative, or it becomes the opposite of that x value. Now let's look at reflection over the line y equal to x. If you look at this point right here, a minus 2, 3, and you reflect over the line y equal to x, all that happens is you can see here that it's from this point, let's look, it goes 3 up and then 2 left. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go 2 down and then 3 right. So all that happens with this type of reflection is that the numbers switch positions. So when you start with xy, the x value becomes the y value in the image, and the y value becomes the x value in the image. So now look at reflection over the x-axis. The x-axis is known as your horizontal axis. Now you can see what happens here. Just like the y, with the y it slides around the y-axis. Now with the x, it's going to slide around the x-axis, and so we have this number here, this point a minus 2, 3. So it's going to go, it's 3 units above the x-axis, so it's going to go 3 units below the x-axis. And the rule that we use here is that if we have a point A with coordinates x and xy, the image is going to be x and negative y. You can see also that we start off at positive 3 and we slide downward to negative 3. So that is how you reflect over the x-axis. For example, if we had a point that was b 3 negative 6, what's going to happen, actually let's use a point that we can put on the graph just to make it a little bit easier to see. If we had a point on the graph, for example, look at this point right here. Okay, so we have that point. So what's going to end up happening is you can see that it's 2 units above the x-axis. It's just going to go 2 units below the x-axis. It's going to go 2 units below the x-axis. And what you notice also is that the y value goes from positive to negative, and so it follows the rule that we're giving for reflection. Reflection over the line y equal to negative x. So let's start from the point given. So we have -2, 3. What ends up happening is that the points switch positions, and then we have to use the opposite of each of the numbers. So that's really what happens. So x, y, we have minus y minus x. So the x and y values switch positions in the image, and then we take the opposite of the x and y of the new x and y values. Reflection over the line x equal to a. So here we have a line x equal to 4. So all that really happens in this case is you treat it as a virtual y-axis. So it's going to be almost like a virtual reflection across the y-axis, but instead we have a line that has, you can see that the y-axis has shifted to this position. And so what you're going to focus on is you look at the point that you're given, how far is it from the line that you're given. So it's going to be 2 units from that line, so it's going to go 2 units in the opposite direction as well. That's all that really matters in this case. What about line y equal to b? Same thing happens. It's almost like a new virtual x-axis. You look at how many points, the distance that point has from the x-axis. You can see it's 4 units here. Now you're also going to go 4 units below that virtual x-axis. And finally, when you have a point and you want to reflect around that point, one of the ways I do this, the easiest way to look at this, so you have this point A, 3, 4. So now you look at it, you go 4 units up, 4 units up, and then 2 units to the right. When you reflect, you're going to go 4 units down. Sorry, it's 1 unit to the right. So 4 units down and then 1 unit to the left. So this is really all you need to know when you're dealing with reflections in the coordinate plane.